Hello again. It's a matter of common observation that what is one day being described as a racist conspiracy theory will, after a year or two, or indeed even sooner, be generally accepted as truthful and accurate. We have seen this in the case of both COVID and the Southport murders. In both cases, the truth began circulating very soon after the event, and in both cases this was dismissed as dangerous nonsense and deeply racist into the bargain. Many viewers will, I am sure, remember clearly that soon after COVID began appearing across the world, it was soon plain that the infection began in China, in a town called Wuhan, where there just happened to be a secure facility called the Institute of Virology, where they had been experimenting with coronaviruses. Well, that's a clue, surely. It was very quickly being suggested that a genetically engineered virus had either accidentally escaped or deliberately been released from this place, and that this had caused the pandemic. But wait, not so fast though, because Wuhan also has a market where they sell things like bats. The experts in Britain and America said that this was clearly a far more likely source of COVID-19 than that Institute of Virology next door to the market. In fact, the idea that the virus had been made on purpose there was racist. It played into the ancient trope of Chinese people as cold-hearted and cruel Orientals. Shocking. Incredibly, this idea was swiftly adopted by all liberal, left-wing and progressive people, and anybody at all who mentioned the idea that a leak from the laboratory might have been the cause of the epidemic was denounced as spreading racist conspiracies. YouTube was quick to act, and those who circulated this idea had their videos and comments removed. I'm sure that I cannot be the only one who remembers this. Although, judging by the way that recent history is changed and edited so rapidly these days, it's quite possible that I am the only person in the world who actually remembers this period clearly. In this morning's newspaper, we read that Professor Tim Spector, the man who designed the symptom tracker for COVID known as Zoe, for which he was given the OBE by the British government, as orthodox and reliable a scientist as one could hope to find, now says that it is obvious that there had been a cover-up about the origin of the COVID virus, and that the most likely explanation is that it escaped from the laboratory in Wuhan, rather than having come from a food market. I give a link in the description to this video to a news item reporting his views. And right there you have it. The racist conspiracy theory is now the orthodox view of scientists who know the most about the epidemic. It has taken a few years for this reversal of accepted opinion to take place, but in the most recent instance of this kind of thing, the about-face took just 3 months. At the end of July this year, 3 little girls were killed in the English town of Southport. Within a day or two, the story began circulating on social media that the person arrested for this crime was a Muslim terrorist. Just as with the origins of COVID, there was at once an outcry from politicians and all other kinds of sensible folk that this was an outrageous idea. It was in the first place racist and Islamophobic. After all, the young man arrested was a Welsh choir boy. And secondly, it smacked of a conspiracy theory. There followed an uproar, with all right-thinking and responsible folk supporting the government claims that neither Islam nor terrorism had anything at all to do with the case. Until that was 3 months later, when the man arrested for the murders was also charged with 2 offences under the Terrorism Act, and rumours emerged from the prison where he was being held on remand that he attends mosque there. These are just two examples of this trend, but I'm sure that viewers will be able to call to mind others. If anybody wondered why so many people today mistrust governments and the mass media and prefer to think for themselves, then these two cases should make matters very plain. We have been so systematically lied to by both our governments and all the newspapers and television channels that many of us simply no longer believe a word we hear from these sources. If many people are indeed prone to believing in conspiracy theories, then those in power have only themselves to blame for this.